Hi, I'm Ray Hager, standing in for Sam Shad, and welcome to an all-new edition of Nevada Newsmakers. Today's guest is Nevada State Treasurer Zach Conine, and we'll be talking about his plan to help the banking needs of Nevada's cannabis industry. That's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
40 years ago, Hotel California and the theme from Rocky were #1 on the pop charts, and D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal started on the road to becoming Nevada's leading roofing company.
I couldn't be more proud of what we've achieved.
And over these 40 years, we've become an employee-owned company. So when you're talking to any employee, you're talking to an owner.
And here's to the next 40 years.
Happy 40th birthday, D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
Hi, welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. Our guest today is Nevada Treasurer Zach Conine. Welcome to you, Zach.
Happy to be back.
Or, Treasurer Conine, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I wanted to talk about the business of marijuana in Nevada. And as you know, most banks won't do business with the cannabis industry because the U.S. government still considers marijuana illegal. You successfully pushed a program through the legislature that would give Nevada's cannabis industry the ability to maybe set up a closed-loop payment processing system to deal with their big amounts of cash. Could you maybe explain this system to our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. And to back up a little bit, during the campaign, we met with all sorts of individuals who are involved in the cannabis industry. The dispensary owners, the cultivation facilities, employees who work at those facilities, and the labor groups that represent them. And it's very clearly a problem, right? Nevada voters have decided that cannabis, medical and recreational, should be legal, but they have no federal solution for banking. And while we do believe that the long-term solution is a federal one, right, to enable a full suite and a broad functionality from a banking perspective, we wanted to try and find a solution that would deal with what we think is a relatively critical life safety issue, simply the transmission of all of this cash around the valley. So we had some ideas during the campaign, and Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno picked that up and put a bill out, AB 466, which we were able to support and get over the line, that creates a pilot program for a closed-loop system. And so let's talk about that just a little bit. What does that mean? So in a closed-loop system, money comes into the system and is converted into something we're calling a token. I'm sure we'll come up with a more clever name for what that is at some point. That token then cycles through the legal cannabis industry. So for instance, dispensary creates the token. Token then goes from the dispensary to a production facility, from a production facility to a cultivation facility to, say, a landlord. And then that landlord, who has no need to pay anyone in tokens, can turn around and redeem it through the state and the state's approved vendor. And so with that, we're able to create an intrastate, so just Nevada, way to circulate funds around between these different entities, which avoids bags of cash being driven around our fair state and presenting the dangers sort of associated with that. It also gives us an ability to take tax payments in the form of tokens so that, again, we don't have individuals showing up with duffel bags full of cash to our government facilities in order to pay their tax.
Happen?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, duffel bags full of cash.
Wow, do they come in with a lot of security? It seems like a...
I mean, Ray, I'm probably not going to give you the schedule, but yeah, they come in with security. We have to have additional security on the government side, and it's a interim solution that isn't really a solution. And so what's important to us is making sure that we've got a piece of technology that allows us to avoid some of that risk. Now, it was really important when we put it together to make sure it was voluntary, because...
Right, okay,
right.
You have to...
Yeah, so businesses have to sign up for it. They have to choose to sign up for it. The government, of course, will continue to take cash for tax payments, and other vendors can choose to take and participate in this token scheme or not. And our goal is to make sure that that system is attractive enough from a business metric standpoint, that the operating costs of that system are low enough that more and more businesses want to join it. It was important to make it voluntary because we want government to help with a market-based solution. We know government needs to get involved because it's a public safety issue. It's a Nevada issue. But at the same line, we don't want to come into someone's business and say, this is the most effective way to do something. It's not typically that effective when government does that. So our goal is to give people a voluntary solution, which has to be up and running by July of 2020. We're going to try to put a few pilot programs out there so that they can be perhaps more or less robust and allow them to compete in the marketplace. And hopefully we find a winner that becomes a solution. But our real hope is that our federal delegation comes together with the rest of the country, and that we support things like the Safe Banking Act, which is in the Senate right now, that we come up with a federal solution for this problem.
Do you think that's that federal solution is going to be sooner or later?
You know, I think if I was able to handicap Congress, then I'd try to go after your job. But I don't know. I think, in the absence of, the Treasurer's Office will do this, and I think the rest of the government in Nevada has shown a willingness to do this. When the federal government's not going to step in and fix a problem, we will. And whether or not the feds solve it tomorrow or 10 years from now, we want to make sure that since cannabis is legal in Nevada, that it can be consumed and that economy can be as safe as possible.
Okay. Treasurer Conine, let's take a break right here.
Okay.
I got some other questions on this subject. We'll be right back with Zach Conine, the Treasurer of Nevada, talking about the legal cannabis industry in Nevada, right after these few words.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully's Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Hi, welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. Our guest today is Nevada Treasurer Zach Conine, and we're speaking about Nevada's legal cannabis industry. Treasurer Conine, in Nevada, this is like a cash business. And it reminds me in a way, going back in Nevada history, to a cash business of the early Las Vegas casinos. There they were plagued with skimming. Do you see the potential for skimming in Nevada's cannabis industry simply because, number one, you're dealing with a cash-only business, and number two, the cannabis committee hasn't even really started to work yet?
You know, I think Nevada has long been the gold standard from a gaming operation standpoint. And the reason that happened is because we continued to find ways to better protect the state and the operators and the participants in the space. And I think cannabis is just like that. You know, gaming's been around for a long time, and cannabis hasn't. So I think we're getting better over time. By definition, any cash business is easier to skim or divert from than any others. We don't have any reason to think that that's a widespread problem, but by definition, more information, more data makes any potential problem less likely.
Do you think that skimming would be looked into when the new Nevada Cannabis Control Committee that's not the
control board, I think.
Control board. Do you think that would be an issue with them that they would investigate?
Yeah, I think that the Cannabis Control Board exists, right? Its mandate is to protect and grow the industry by making sure that whatever guardrails need to be there are there. I'm sure they'll look into everything. I wouldn't want to speak for them, but I'm sure they'll look into anything that they think is important.
Now, in Nevada's cannabis industry, cash and carry cash business, has there ever been an attempted robbery or a successful robbery of cannabis cash when it was being transported to wherever they keep it?
Yeah, I don't know specifics. I know at the beginning, when a few dispensaries opened, there were some minor armed robberies. Luckily, we haven't had anything significant. Our goal through a system like this is to make sure that we don't.
So your system that you got running through the legislature, you think that is a way to stop any kind of potential theft from the cannabis industry?
Yeah, I think we're in the risk mitigation business, right? So,
what do you mean by that?
Sure. So by definition, you can never remove all danger from any situation, right? We wear seatbelts in cars and we have airbags so that if we do get into an accident, which we can't avoid, that risk is mitigated. This system will pull cash out of pieces of the industry from, if you're a dispensary and you have to go to a cultivation facility to get your supply of pre-rolls, you won't have to bring cash down the street to do that. By removing that piece of the transaction, that increases safety. That doesn't mean that there won't be a robbery. It doesn't mean that something bad won't happen. It means that we're doing our best to try to avoid it and mitigate the chances.
Okay. In California, that's the nation's largest legal marijuana market. Their lawmakers are considering legislation that would create a special class of banks specifically for the cannabis industry. Could you talk a little bit about that, and is that something similar in the future in Nevada?
The idea of creating a cannabis-specific bank, state-sponsored, has been discussed by a number of different states. California spent a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, evaluating this as an idea. Our understanding is they came to the place where it wouldn't be sustainable at the back end, because the way that a bank makes money is in taking deposits, right? Investing those deposits, giving them out as loans, et cetera. And by siloing the bank within the cannabis field, it was difficult to make that pencil without long-term state involvement from a dollar and cent standpoint. And I think that's important from a distinction as to what we're doing with this closed loop system. By statute, this will not cost the state $1. right, outside of the time of myself and our office and the legal work to put it together. But vendors will be providing this system and coming up with a way of getting paid by the dispensaries and the cannabis groups that choose to enter the program, as opposed to it being a state-sponsored functionality.
Okay, Treasurer Conine, if this pilot program is successful, what can Nevadans expect when the next legislature rolls around in 2 years? Will you be proposing a permanent system or perhaps a banking system?
So it's a great question. I come from an entrepreneurial startup world, and one of the things that I'm most sure of is that we will not have gotten everything right. And so our goal is to put this pilot program in place, collect as much data as possible, and then to the extent that we have to go back to the legislature and change some of the parameters around to make it work better, we're going to do that. Hopefully, there's a federal solution by then. If there's not a federal solution by then, we'll look to ways to expand the program and make it more effective. But I expect iteration is going to be the name of the game here, as opposed to some sort of wholesale change.
Okay, great answer. We're going to take a break right here and come back for the last segment. We'll be right back after these few messages with Nevada Treasurer Zach Conine.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. Our guest, of course, is Nevada Treasurer Zach Conine. Now, Treasurer Conine, we have been talking about Nevada's cash and carry marijuana, legal marijuana system. I wanted to go on to some other issues in your department. Specifically, number one, the Millennium Scholarship. Of course, it's very, very popular program that helps deserving Nevada students go to Nevada universities and colleges. It's remained a main cog in the Nevada's educational system. You administer the program. It needs infusions from the legislature every year to every other year to keep going. How long will this program, do you think, will it be, and will it ever become self-sustaining again?
It's a good question. We spent a fair amount of time during this legislative session. We had a proposal that would have created a self-sustaining sort of an endowment model for the Millennium. But let's talk about what the Millennium has done. We've had 124,856 students, Nevadans, go to college because of the Millennium Scholarship. $475 million worth of student loans that were avoided because of the Millennium Scholarship. And it's been around for about 20 years. Our next cohort enters in the next couple of months, and we're really excited for them. It is expensive. It's expensive because it's merit-based. And so if you've got a 3.25 coming out of high school and you go to school in Nevada, you're going to be there. And Governor Gwynn's intention was to keep our best and brightest in the state by giving them a reason to go to an in-state institution and stay here. And we know that if somebody goes to school in Nevada, they're more likely to make a career in Nevada. And by avoiding that brain drain, I think we've had a generation now of leaders and thinkers that have stayed in Nevada.
Well,
That's
I don't
great.
disagree with anything that you just said, but how long can Nevadans expect the Millennium Scholarship to continue?
Yeah, and I think that's a conversation we're having more and more every day. You know, in my 200 or so days in office, it's been a massive topic of conversation. It was a massive topic of conversation on the campaign trail because it is so expensive. $33 million in one-time appropriations this year from the legislature in this session, $20 million 2 years before, and every time there's an adjustment to, for instance, in 2015, the rule was changed so you could use a good SAT or ACT score to qualify, and that added a few more thousand folk a year, which is a big expense to the state. What we are working on is ways to look at not just the Millennium, but all the programs that our office offers, that NSHE offers, that are offered across the state to create affordability and access to college. And I think they need to be looked at together. I don't think you can look at the Millennium and say, is that money we should be spending? I think you need to look at all of the programs and say, are we achieving our goals, keeping the best and brightest in Nevada and creating a path to future opportunity? And when we talk about college, we're not just talking about a four-year institution anymore. We're talking about a four-year institution, two-year institution, career and technical training, all of which are going to be needed for the Nevada of tomorrow. So we've kind of stepped back a little bit and said, this isn't just about the Millennium. This is about higher education in Nevada. And our goal for our office is to be helpful in that conversation. The neat thing is there are dozens of community partners in the north and the south and the rurals who are working to solve this problem, and we're hopeful we can give them a bully pulpit to do it.
Do you know how much money it would conceivably take to keep the Millennium Scholarship running, say, 8 years, 10 years?
So mechanically, the three funding sources of the Millennium Scholarship right now are an annual appropriation, a biannual appropriation from the Unclaimed Property Fund, right, that goes there as opposed to going to the general fund, money that comes in from the Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement, and those are basically fixed. So that we get the same amount of money from those on a consistent basis. So growth in the program has to be funded completely out of the legislature. 20 million last time, 33 million this biennium. We think next biennium is going to end up being around 38 million. And then, of course, it's a combination of population growth, program changes, and the rest. It's a massive amount of money that's going out the door to what we think is a massively important program. We want to make sure that that's done in the most efficient way as possible, which is why we proposed a permanent funding solution. But of course, you know, it's Nevada. We've got a lot of things we need to spend money on, a lot of very worthy causes, and we'll do our best to make the case for the Millennium.
What is your permanent funding solution for the Millennium?
So the idea that we brought forth in the legislative session was effectively to divert a piece of the unclaimed property money that typically goes into the general fund into the Millennium Scholarship Trust Fund, which functions like an endowment. So build that corpus up, that principal amount up large enough, and the returns on it would then pay for the funding mechanism.
And was that approved, or?
That was not approved. We ended up pulling it out of the bill because I think it needed more time to bake. You know, we have a sort of an interesting legislative process where we show up on the 7th and have the ability to start working on things January 7th. Legislature shows up at the beginning of February, and then 120 days goes by like that. Luckily, we're not going anywhere, so we'll continue to work on it.
Well, this past year, your office returned a record $44 million in unclaimed property. Why not just keep that money and use it for public goods like the Millennium Scholarship?
Primarily because it's not ours. And so the focus of unclaimed property is how do we make that process as efficient as possible for Nevadans getting their money back? Because, while we certainly have some large businesses that get money back from the Millennium Scholarship, or from unclaimed property, which is theirs. We had one gentleman get $928,000 from unclaimed property this year in a single return. But we also have individuals single parents and grandparents who are coming and getting $40, $50, $80 from a paycheck that they never cashed years ago. We want to return that money to Nevadans as quickly as possible.
Okay. Mr. Treasurer, thank you for coming on today. I really enjoyed our interview.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. We'll have you back.
All right. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back to wrap up this version of Nevada Newsmakers right after this.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion, for romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada, and we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and because I represent men in all family law matters, women often call me gender traitor, woman hater, and even disgusting. So why represent men and target myself with these offensive monikers? It's simple. Children with fathers in their lives are 6 times less likely to drop out of school, 15 times less likely to go to prison, and 5 times less likely to commit suicide. So ladies, you can hate me, but please love your children more than you hate their fathers.
Thanks for watching. Just a note, you can watch all of the shows on NevadaNewsmakers.com and also on YouTube. You can also catch a lot of stories that I have written about the interviews also on NevadaNewsmakers.com. Thank you.